This is Bob Maranto, Managing Partner of Andrews Bernstein Maranto, continuing our discussion regarding injuries to the spine that you may see in your medical records if you've been involved in an accident. Last time we talked about the disc, and here the vertebral bodies are the bone and the disc is on the inside. And we talked about the fact that sometimes you'll see disc bulge, disc protrusions, and herniations. If you see the word disc extrusion generally can't be mistaken for anything else. The extrusion means that on the inside of this disc is a gelatinous material. If that gelatinous material has penetrated the annular wall, this outside wall, and is leaking out, that would be an extrusion. The nucleus pulposus is now extruded and has left the inside of the disc. With respect to disc bulge, herniations, protrusions, I'm going to take this model and I'm going to squeeze it. And you can see that as I squeeze it, in this case, the area inside of the disc is now protruding out, bulging out, herniating out. That may, in some situations, be called a disc herniation, disc protrusion, or bulge. Now, this disc is very important to show you this, because in this model, you'll see these little white finger-like materials that are coming out of the cord. This is the cord. This is the peripheral nerve coming out. The area in here where the nerve is coming through is called the foramen. And we had talked about before that if the foramen is being narrowed, it's called stenosis. So this disc is now causing foraminal stenosis. It's narrowing the area where that nerve can go through. Now, if we keep protruding that out, and we can see that it comes into contact with that nerve. Now this is called foraminal stenosis, which is causing nerve root impingement. It's actually touching the nerve. And when it touches that nerve, we can trace that nerve to certain parts of the body, and then you'll explain why you're having weakness or numbness or tingling in a certain part of your body. The thing I explain most to people is and most people have heard of this term, is that if we have this happening right-sided at L5-S1, that would be called an L5-S1 sciatic nerve involvement. And people have commonly heard about that because it goes down the back of the leg. But if this happens, for example, at C6 and C7, we can trace that to a specific part of the hand. Same with C5 and C6. Same with L4 and L5 down the front of the leg. So once we look, or you look, at your MRI films or your MRI reports, and you see that you have foraminal stenosis, and at a certain level, if that corresponds to the symptoms, we have what we call clinical correlation. In other words, those match each other. So now we know that the disc pathology that you have is actually causing that particular problem.